to your listeners and to yourself, Nafeesa Dangor. My name is Abdul Salam. So basically, I understand this month is Youth Month, and what this month means to me is okay, not a lot, because to me it's like any other month. Last month it was May. This month is June. I don't know if there's gonna be any differences between the 2 months. So basically, I wasn't even aware that you know what June is actually like a youth month because it's not visibly celebrated. You can ask any youth out there, like what month is the youth month in South Africa. I am certainly sure that out of 100, only like five will say June is our youth month.
But as we know, June the 16th has a lot of importance attached to it.
Yeah, but June the 16th, you should ask yourself, is it about the Hector Peterson shooting? Are we celebrating it that the lives that we lost during those days, the apartheid eras? Because I think something happened specifically on that day. So there was a shooting that happened in Soweto uprising or something like that, and some like it was students, learners, high school learners or me school
So, so,
learners
so should we not
marching
turn
and
around and look at it in the positive and say, this should shed light on the issues and challenges of youth faced. I mean, youth stood up at that point
yeah,
already to say that we need to stand ground for
yeah,
what we want and what we want in our future and
yeah,
what we need to see going forward. So
yeah,
I would say maybe you need to take that, turn it around, and look at it in the positive connotation to say that, you know what, yes, you're right. This has happened, that had transpired that many years ago.
mm,
But going forward, South Africa has gone through many changes, and I mean,
mm,
youth movements have started up in many directions.
uh-huh,
So maybe it's having to look at a youth movement that is going out there and trying to make those necessary changes and trying to bring the plights out of youth.
mm,
And I think one of the biggest problems, and I think Brother Salila is going to agree with me. Brother Salila, we're just talking about the challenges faced, and I think looking at Hector Peterson's story is to bring out the positive to say that we should learn from that and say that we as youth need to look at the situations at hand, the challenges faced, and bring it to the fore, bring that attention on it, shed the light on it, so that people can understand the situations faced and pen out the necessary solutions going forward.
Yeah, no, I think it's a very important conversation that we're having, and I think both of you guys are making a pertinent point. As a young person myself, completely relate to what he's saying. The youth feel like they're forgotten. They feel like what's the significance of it when the government and all the people that came before us seem to have seemingly forgotten the youth and young people and what we're all about. And on another side, we're also right. It's a very important day. This is a day for young people to reflect, to look at the youth of 1976 and be like, these were school going kids, literally. These were people that were 18, 16, 17, and they changed the course of history. In that one day, they were like, we're not going to stand for injustice. We're not going to stand for the abuse. The older people seem to be tired. They seem to be defeated. And we're going to take the baton now and we're going to fight for what's right. So for me, Youth Month, Youth Day, it's all about reflection. It's about today's youth also saying the older people seem to be tired. They seem to be stressed. It's every older person you talk to say, look, everything is up. The government is not working. Infrastructure is broken, but they're not doing anything about it.
So,
You know,
don't you think, as youth, you should be creating this movement where you are the ones that will pan out that change that is happening? And as we know, in
exactly.
South Africa at present, there's so many negatives happening. Unfortunately, as
Mm,
much as we don't want to bring that up, so what we're saying is look at those negatives and sit together as a youth movement and pen out possible solutions, because I mean, we know youth are forward thinkers. They look at the
definitely.
future, they look at things that they could pan out that we possibly, as you said, could not have thought
Mm,
of before. I
definitely. I
mean,
mean, I mean,
and
just
a
yeah.
typical example would be, all the illegal collections, ESCOM always coming into
Mm,
the fore here. How do we work it? Maybe an idea is take a youth, see what innovation he's come up with,
Mm.
he or she, going forward as far as energy is concerned. And as we know, the other day they had an energy in Durban.
Yeah.
And I was just hoping and penning out on that particular day that there were many a youth there that had some brilliant ideas to bring to the fore, to be able to change that narrative and create a better quality of life for yourselves, because
Mm.
that's what it's about. I mean, you still have that many years ahead of yourself. But
Definitely.
what sort of quality of life would you want?
Exactly. And I think, just for example, on this show itself, how many young people have we interviewed that are doing extraordinary things? So I think I mean, for instance, you can just look at the young people, was it 2015, 16, the fees must fall,
Yes.
that was crazy. It was young people from different universities and saying, there's an injustice, you know, higher education is expensive in this country, and it seems only a certain people that have a certain amount of money is exclusive. They only can afford it. And they're like, we're not going to stand for it. So what's stopping today's youth, us, to say we're not happy with what the government is doing? We're not happy with the high crime rates. We're not happy with the unemployment. And we're going to do something about it. So we go to the streets and we protest like the youth of 76 did. And we asking the government to take notice and heed of young people and their contribution, and to not just brush us to the side and only remember young people
I think it's not just
during this
about that,
month.
Brother Abdul Salam. You'll agree with me. It's not just about protesting. It's about penning out those necessary solutions. So it's when we go to government says, you're standing right here, you're complaining about the situations we're in. Yes, we agree there are many a gripes, many a challenges. Maybe sitting together as youth and penning out those solutions to government. And I think it starts with us. I always say that it starts with us. I think each one of us in our community needs to start playing some integral role
Mm.
and creating a youth movement in your own community,
Yeah.
and then taking it forward and growing onto it, and then taking that full scale solution
Mm.
and then penning out to government. I think will have more of an effect, should we say, and a stature. When you go out there, people are going to say, wow, you know what, I've got to listen to them, their ideas are great.
Yeah.
And this is why I say I was grateful for the fact that they had an energy in Daba. I'm
Yeah.
hoping from my point of view and from the youth's point of view that
Mm.
this is going to create a better South Africa, and a better way going forward for people like yourselves, the
Yeah.
young ones out there, so that going forward, your lives become one of more quality. I mean, we know we live in a beautiful rainbow nation
Mm.
country, but unfortunately, the challenges being faced have to be, should we say, taken straight head on and dealt with.
Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna agree with me, Nafisa, but honestly, as the youth of South Africa, we are going through the most. I don't want to lie, because look, if you're gonna, if let's make an example like this at home, as if I am a father and I'm having kids, my my kids are expecting to be having something like legacy, something to leave on that I would have left for them, not for them to create stuff that wasn't there in the first place. So they would expect something from me as a parent, and I would agree with them to be thinking that way, because look, they are young, they are youth, they are bound to make mistakes. They do not have any experience on anything. So, obviously, as an adult, I am more learned in most of life situations. So, they cannot, I cannot expect a lot from them, but they can expect a lot from me. Now, taking this situation to the government, what's happening in our government. So, I'm sorry to say, I don't want to use the word um contaminated. I'm just saying there's so much corruption.
Mhm.
And I think this corruption is contagious.
Mhm.
So if our elders or people that we look up to as our government is doing this, it's like you're looking up to your dad and he's corrupted.
Interesting
What are
you
you
bring
gonna
this
do
subject up,
as a
and I'm going to
youngin?
interrupt you there because just was it yesterday or day before, Professor Tuli Madansela just had that whole anti-corruption talk, which I think is great. It needed to be brought to the fore, but at the same time, the youth need to start creating their own positive stature. So she's dealing with that anti-corruption thing. There is a movement that has started. Maybe young people should actually join in and try and change that narrative themselves and say, look, this is the way we feel about
Yeah.
things. These are the solutions that we have, and this is how we see things going forward for us as a whole united nation
Yeah.
to have a better quality of life. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I think youth have many great ideas. So
Mm.
they need to be given the chance to be able to table that out there. But
Mm.
I think the word is united we stand.
Yeah.
Because until all the youth don't unite and come together as one
Yeah.
and find that solution together
Yeah.
and then pen it out on a mandate and say, this is what we're going to take forward,
Yeah.
then I think you're going to be taken seriously. Another important point you brought up was,
Mm.
I think youth, the gap needs to be bridged, because
Mm.
when youth go to university,
Mm.
it stops there.
Mm.
There isn't a gap to say, there's nothing to bridge that gap, to open doors in employment. There isn't that gap to say, let me give you the necessary skills development you have to be able to go out into that work field and open those doors for you. So I
Mm.
think there's a many discussions that we can go around, which I think what we need to do is maybe one of the sessions that we have going forward in our show next week or so is pen out this and get some youth onto our show and basically get their version of things, and also look at the types of phenomenal things that they're doing so people
Mm.
can start taking note of it and maybe joining in.
Mm. Yeah, I understand what you say, Nafisa, but honestly speaking, on behalf of the youth, as I am a youth myself, I'm just thinking our power is limited. We can have all these sorts of ideas, all these sorts of creativity, energy. What's important between the difference between us and the elders is that we've got energy, they've got experience. Let's make an example. If you look at like corporate world, people in higher ranks, they are elders because of what? Experience. Your station manager is not going to be a youngin. Why? Because that person doesn't have experience. So the world is like built like that. It's like, okay, you're a young person. What do you have? As a young person, you have energy, you can have skills, you can have creativity and be innovative. But the government has got to support you because the government was there before you. So if we are living in a country where a government is not doing anything for the youth, instead is encouraging the youth to do something for themselves.
So I think
It's-
what we need to do going forward is change that narrative, bring attention to it, and I think through the show, what we're going to do is maybe next week get our producer to get some youth on air, have a look at the situation, talk about it, and try and change that narrative, so that maybe hopefully once through the show, we'll start sparking something where people will start taking attention, paying attention to what is going on, and saying, let us move this forward in our own way. So thank you for joining me. It's been a phenomenal conversation. I wish we could take this further, but I think we're going to leave this segment for next week so we can get some other phenomenal youth doing some amazing things. And we need to cross over to the Reverend Frank Chikani and the SACC report back from their visit to Israel and Palestine. So we're going to take a quick break and then we'll go through to them. Thank you.